Musical Warriors. It's the Teacher Tam. This is Michael Mashmar with Bernard Berry, and we're with our 8th grade music appreciation class. As always, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about another guitar, one that you haven't seen yet. This one is called the Dobro, as in money and your really good friend, Dobro, D-O-B-R-O. Dobro. So what we're going to do, real quick like, we're going to watch the first video, just a little bit of it. And what we want you to do is we want you to pay attention to what his hands are doing. Okay, the right hand is picking the strings and the left hand has got something in his hand. We're going to talk about what the hands are doing. I also want you to notice the way he is holding the guitar, and we'll talk about that after we watch the video. All right, wait a minute. I have got to share it. Here we go. I got to remember to do that, man. Sometimes I wonder. You know, the memory is the first thing to go when you get old. At least that's what they say.
That's what they say.
Come on, come on. There we go. All right. We are now presenting. All right.
Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, ready. And
welcome back, everybody. So excited to have him here this morning. 13 Grammy Awards, 3 CMA Musician of the Year Awards, AMA Lifetime Achievement Award. Am I missing some? I'm sure I am.
Who's counting?
Who's counting at this point? We are. We're very excited to have him here. We welcome Jerry Douglas.
We don't need to watch much more than that because I am quite sure that you can answer questions from there. So, what's his hands doing? How is this different from some other guitars?
what did you see, guys?
Just unmute and tell me what you think.
Anyone?
Somebody's on.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Knox.
He was playing the keyboard, but at night, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, that's kind of interesting. It wasn't a keyboard, Kyla. It was a guitar. Keyboard, you know, you press keys like this. You know, he was playing a guitar, but he was doing it a little bit weird. How was the guitar sitting? Let's start there.
It was sitting on his lap and not around his shoulder.
There you go. It was kind of sitting on his lap. He was on a stool, but when we watch the live video, you're going to notice that he's actually standing. And there's about 15 years between the two videos. The first one we watched, he's much older. So anyway, he was sort of sitting, and the guitar was kind of sitting on his lap. But if you noticed, he had his hand through the strap, and the strings were flat instead of upright like this. Okay, so that was the first thing that was different. What did you notice about his right hand? What was it doing to the strings? Was he strumming? What was different about what he was doing with the strings?
What was he doing, guys? What did you see?
Man, did I really stump you guys? Huh. Didn't you notice something that he was wearing on these 3 fingers? What did you notice he was wearing on these 3 fingers?
Did you guys notice that he had something on his fingers on his right hand? Did you notice it? Yes, no, maybe?
I guess I'm...
Okay, Paul is saying, yeah, he noticed it. But
he noticed it, but how do you describe it? I mean, you don't have to tell us what it was.
What did it look like?
Yeah, what did it look like? What do you think you saw? Silence. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, he wasn't strumming. What he was doing he was picking the strings with picks that he had on 3 fingers. Okay? So he was picking the different strings with picks that he had on his fingers. Did you notice what his left hand was doing on the neck of the guitar? Was it playing the, fingering the different chords like regular guitarist, or was he doing something different?
What did it look like he was doing? I can tell you what it looked like to me. It almost looked like he was taking his hand and just kind of holding it flat and running it parallel to the
strings, the neck,
the neck of the guitar,
yeah.
the fingerboard of the guitar. That's what it looked like to me. Did you guys see that? Any of that? Anyone?
Camilla, Dalen, Phoenix?
They're super quiet.
Wow, you guys you must just be tired today. All right, what he was doing was this is a highlighter, okay? But I want to show you what he was doing here. He was holding what is called a guitar slide. It's a piece of metal that's about this size right here. And he was sliding it up and down the strings. And that was what was changing the pitch. And if you notice, you'll see this when we watch the second part. He's using his pinky to drag the strings to make sure that there's no vibration beyond his pinky. Okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to watch a live song. And you guys get your paper out. Remember, you always have a piece of paper so you can jot down what you see as far as the instruments are concerned, who's singing, okay, what sex the singer is, that kind of thing, okay? But, and you're going to have to, because I'm going to ask individual people now because people are just not talking.
Yeah,
that means I'm going to have to
call on.
I'm going to have to point you out, okay? We're going to talk about what the song is about, all right? And we're also going to talk about, I want you to notice that the one female that's on the stage sings a very specific part of the song, okay? And I want you to try to tell me why.
So guys, really focus in and listen to the lyrics as best you can to determine what the song is about, okay?
The story of the song. We're also going to be talking about the genre, guys. We're going to be talking about the genre. Let's see what you guys think. Come on.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it's lagging on the presentation.
Yep.
All right, so the funny thing about this is the guy that's playing dobro.
Right.
Love that song.
All right, guys, we're gonna discuss. Please participate.
All right, let's start off first with the elephant in the room. What is the genre of this song? What's your idea?
What are your thoughts, guys?
Country.
All right, Samir, you're really, really close. Okay, Paul over here said what they're playing is actually called an idiom of country. An idiom is like taking a pie and slicing a little bit off of it. An idiom is a more specific type of country. Can you maybe tell me what it is? I know this is a good class. Sometimes people will do. Right now, somebody's doing some searching to try to get the right answer because we got some really smart kiddos in here. I've got a one.
Bluegrass, I believe that's what it
Bluegrass.
is.
Very good. It is the color and the grass. It's called bluegrass. Okay, bluegrass is an idiom of country. It is a more specific version of country. And as a matter of fact, bluegrass is closer to the origins of country than country is anymore. Country kind of comes from folk music and from, farmers and miners and laborers who would learn how to play these instruments and entertain each other and themselves at night when they weren't working. So it really stemmed from musicians that were not trained. But obviously, these guys are really, really good at their job because this is probably some of the best musicians you're ever going to find in country music or bluegrass. So definitely bluegrass. So now let's start talking about our instruments. We're going to start with our soloist. What was that name that we started out with today? What was the guitar called that he was playing?
A dobro.
A dobro. That is very, very good. Again, you can tell the difference between a dobro and a regular guitar because of the way it is played. And I know it kind of looks like a steel guitar, which is also a very country instrument, but it is not a steel guitar. It is a dobro. A dobro looks more like a guitar than a steel guitar does because a steel guitar is just really flat and doesn't have a body on it. And it's more like a table than a dobro is. A dobro looks like a guitar. All right, so let's move to his left. When the singer came in, we're not going to talk about singers yet, but when the singer came in, what instrument was he holding and eventually played? What's that called?
A violin.
No.
There was one of those in there, but the second instrument that we saw, the second instrument with the guy who was, there we go, Paul. Yes, it was the acoustic
guitar. Okay, one of our choir teachers, our choir students popped that in there. All right, then we're going to move to his left. What is that kind of weird looking guitar that's got a circular body on it? Looks like it has 4 strings, but it actually has 5 because there's that little short 5th one up there at the top of the neck. Okay, what's that guitar called? We talked about it when we went over the guitars a couple weeks ago. Starts with a B. Banjo. Okay.
Correct. Banjo.
Come on, band. Choir's getting you today.
There we go.
Man, you guys were all about it yesterday, but today the choir is all about it.
Let's keep that same energy.
All right, so we're going to move backwards. Behind the banjo and guitar player, there was a really, really big bass. Does anybody know the actual name of that? We haven't talked about it.
What was that?
Okay, it wasn't a cello. The cello was a slightly smaller version of it.
Oh, yes, it was, Miss Parker. Most definitely a double bass.
Okay, very good. It's a double bass.
What's another name, though, for a double bass? Do we know?
Most people kind of, this one is kind of cheating, but the second name for it is an upright bass. And that refers to the fact that the neck is upright. It sits up like this when you play it instead of down like most guitars. Okay? So, and did you notice that the body kind of looks like a big fat violin, doesn't it? Kind of looks like, what is it? Was it Dalen's? No, whose picture was the big fat? Jalen's.
Yeah.
Jalen's icon is of just hugely fat giraffe, and that's, you know, an upright bass, a double bass reminds me of a really big fat violin. Anyway, talking about violins.
So Miss Jones actually answered that correct. So a violin most definitely was up on the stage.
Violin was up there. That was what Alison Krauss was playing. However, can anybody tell me what they call it when it's playing in country music? What do they call a violin when it's usually in country? What is it called? Starts with an F. No, a fiddle. That's exactly correct. Okay. Oftentimes in country, it's nicknamed a fiddle because, you know, when people that weren't trained in it, they just kind of fiddled around with it. But you can tell the style is different because they use a lot more double stops, which is where you take the bow and you pull the bow across more than one string, sometimes even 3. But the style difference is they do what is called sawing. They saw on the fiddle. They move the bow back and forth really, really fast, and that just gives it a very specific sound. And so usually when you're talking about country music, you're talking about the fiddle. That's what they call it in country music. All right, so that takes care of our actual instruments. Now let's talk about our singing instruments. So who was singing the song? Come on, guys. Was it a man or a woman?
I mean,
Okay, so how would you say what he was doing?
a male lead singer.
There you go, Destiny, exactly. A male lead singer. Okay, now what about Allison? What would you call her in this particular song? What would you call her? I'm using the word her. That's kind of a hint. Her. Was she singing the lead part, or was she not singing the lead? What is that called?
Thank you, Ms. Liggins. Yes, a background
All right.
singer.
Female background singer. All right, now we're going to talk about some lyrics. Let's do some lyrics interpretation. What is the song about?
Who can tell us?
What is the song about? Dalen, have you got a stab at it? Why don't you turn your mic off and tell me what you think the song was about?
Wait a second. I have a clear idea. Wait a second.
Okay. You have a clear idea.
I think he's doing some research.
So that's a way of buying a little bit of time. While Dalen is looking up the lyrics, which is probably what he's doing right now, can somebody tell me what they think the overreaching subject of the song is about?
I mean, what's the title of the song, guys?
Wow.
A boy in corn.
Okay, it's about a boy in corn. Yeah, that's pretty specific, but what happened to his corn? And why did it happen to his corn? I think what we got is we got a bunch of 8th graders that are trying to finish the assignment while we're doing the assignment instead of talking about it. Because I see a whole bunch of intently staring faces. They're like, we got this. We got this. Come on, Dalen, let's expand. So we know it's about a boy and we know it's about some corn.
Was it
What
lost? It's saying
He lost his corn. That's right, Camille. How did he lose his corn? Okay, I'm going to give you some background because I don't think we have any farmers here. It's not like we got farmland around here. Okay? But in the olden days, before we had tractors and before we had chemicals to kill the weeds, okay, what they had to do to kill the weeds is they had to hoe, okay, which they used a hoe as like a gardening tool, and they used it to get rid of weeds and make sure everything was good. They had to tend to their corn, okay? But what they also had to do was they had to get the corn out of the field. They had to call it harvest. They had to harvest the corn before it got too cold. And the reason why I think this is probably in West Virginia is because, you know, back in the hills of the mountains, back in the hollows, the holla, they used to call, it got really, really cold. So, like Caden said here, and Caden is exactly right. Thank you for answering, Caden. A big frost came, okay? And when a frost comes, what does it do to the crop?
No one knows what happens.
Crickets.
When frost comes.
When the frost comes and the corn gets frosted or frozen, what happens to it?
It's what?
Dead.
That's right.
There we go. Yes.
It ruins the corn. Okay. Now the strange thing about it is if you get a really good frost, you can't even use the corn to feed animals. You can't even use it as grain, let alone feed people. But it literally ruins the corn. So this guy, this farmer, this young farmer completely lost his entire crop. Okay? So there's the And he lost his crop by not doing what he was supposed to do. What would you call that if he, he's just sitting around not doing what he's supposed to do?
Think of a four-letter word that begins with the letter L.
What would you call that if you don't do what you're supposed to do? You're just sitting around. He's lazy. That's right. So he's a lazy farmer. Now, ladies, way back in the day, when a guy wanted to date you, he couldn't just like ask you out on a date. That wasn't permitted. What they had to do was they had to court you. All right. A courtship was usually, I mean, he might walk you home from church. He might take you to picnics, or they might be spending time in the parlor with the whole family on Sunday. But it was something that took years. Okay. Now, the second part of the song, he's talking about a courtship. Okay. It says his courtship had just begun, and he went to a house in town where he's often been. Okay. And he said, "Pretty little miss, will you marry me?" What do you say? Well, what did she say, guys?
And if you don't know, what do you think she said?
What do you think she said?
No.
She said no, Destiny, you're right. But how did she say no? What was that last line that she used? Dalen, you have the lyrics. What'd she say to him? He's finishing a sentence, I bet, on his written work right now. Okay. Single I am and will remain. What was the rest of that line?
A lazy man I won't maintain.
Excellent, Caden. A lazy man I won't maintain. How did she figure out that he was lazy? What'd she say? You can't even raise your own corn grain. So she doesn't want to do all the work in the marriage. So she kicked him to the curb. Poof, out he went. And what was that last thing that he said to her? Hey, little miss, you'll rue the day. You rue the day that you were born. For giving me the devil because I wouldn't hoe corn. What a great lyric. Giving me the devil because I wouldn't hoe corn. She said no to his proposal because he wouldn't hoe corn. Man, that's some lyric interpretation right there. She got all mad at him because he just wouldn't hoe corn, and she just did not want to have a lazy husband. That's a lot of power, wouldn't you think, ladies? I think so. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. I think you're already doing it. But remember, on the assignment number 19, you should have 4 questions and a bonus question. Don't forget to write in full sentences. All right? We're going to say goodbye real quick and let you guys get on with your assignment. So, peace out. Spread some love today, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.